Cinema Classics is sponsored by the Gateway Film Center and is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. You can listen to full shows online at wcbe.org. I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
I'm John DeSando.
This is Cinema Classics. This question keeps looming over us all year. I mean, 2021 was the year that I think we all thought we'd get back to the movie theaters. And we did.
Yeah.
In fits and starts.
We did.
So what I'd like to do, one of the things I just want to set the stage here for this conversation.
Yes.
I've spent a lot of time thinking about what makes a movie cinematic, what makes a film worth seeing in a theatrical environment, what cinema still works at home when you're sitting on your couch. So I want to revisit the year, if you would amuse me.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Humor me.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no.
So I'd like to go back and mention a few movies that we probably both have seen. I would like you to tell me if you saw them at home or in the theater.
Okay.
And in hindsight, if you wished you'd seen it in the theater, or what made it work in the theater, what make it didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Good. I got it. Yeah,
Okay.
excellent.
Good. All right. Let's go with. Let's start with. Do you remember the movie The Killing of Two Lovers?
I sure do.
That was one of the best movies of the year.
Apparently nobody else remembers it
Well,
because
it came
it's
out
not
very
in
early.
anybody's remembrance, and it was a super film.
It's an amazing little film. Where did you see it?
It worked very well at home.
Yeah.
However, with the background mountains, it would have been nice to have a bigger palette for this.
Yeah.
But here's one, right to your point, can be enjoyed either way.
Yeah. It is such a small, intimate film.
Yes.
And the aspect ratio is it's classic, kind of
Yes.
just perfect square. It did play very nicely at home. You know, you do have to create the right atmosphere. That's what I notice for a lot of these films. When you're watching them at home, you do have to sort of, hunker down. You got to be quiet. Sometimes I can't watch a movie during the wrong, like at the movie theater. You can go any time of day, right? You go into a dark movie theater, and you lose sense of time.
Yeah.
But at home, some of these films you need to watch them at night.
And I think we've made the point before, the theater is a controlled environment. You can't really screw off the way you can at home.
Right. And that's what I try to do at home. My advice to people, if you care about film, is to try to, as closely as you can, cast that same spell. Don't keep getting up. Go to the bathroom before you start the movie. Get get a drink, sit down, and prepare to buckle in for a while. Anyway, I wish I'd seen that movie in the theater.
Yep.
Okay. How about Annette?
Yeah, Annette easily can be enjoyed at home because it's so chatty, so theatrical. But there are some scenes that would work very well on a bigger screen. But you're looking at Adam Driver, for instance, and Marion Cotillard, and you're looking at fine performances, and I could be sitting in the theater and enjoying it.
Okay. I saw it in the theater. And I loved it in the theater, and I really can't imagine it working as well. It's such a cinematic experience.
Yeah.
Leos Carax, the director, it's an incredibly visual movie, and it's a musical. And I just feel like at home, that spell, you really need that theatrical spell to be cast over you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a visual treat.
Right.
Okay, you give me one.
Pig.
I'm glad you said Pig. I'm glad you said this one.
This is Nicolas Cage's
Yes.
tour de force, as far as I'm
We
concerned.
saw this in the theater. I am so glad that we saw this in a theater setting.
Yes.
Because of the sound design of
All
the
right,
movie.
good.
There's such a beautiful attention to detail paid to the aural environment.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's such a quiet, introspective movie that, distractions at home could easily shatter the vibe, the mood of this movie. It really does work to establish a mood, and that's something we don't always think of when we talk about movies. The mood that it sets. Anyway, I'm so glad I saw it.
Sure, and the confined theme of his life, pulling himself away from society, worked very nicely on a smaller setting. Even though he's out in the forest and you would think, well, it'd be expansive and so on, he is claustrophobic in one way and trying to, and actually working himself away from his seclusion. Very cool. Good
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Just same note, that month, that was July, that came out in July, and it was released right alongside of Roadrunner, a film about Anthony Bourdain.
I know.
We saw that in the theater as well. Now, a documentary is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And a documentary, this one in particular, used a lot of video,
Yes.
B-roll, and the video is just flat, right? So, and I felt like in a documentary, especially a documentary about a television personality who made a lot of television, that could have easily been viewed at home, I thought. Just a...
No, you're right. There was, even though there was so much video that he oversaw, a great deal of it was him.
Yeah.
You really didn't need all the countries in the world that he traveled, you didn't need to see any of them. What we were all there for is, why did he commit suicide?
Right. Well, that's a
Big
mystery.
existential
We're not
question that doesn't require the big canvas.
Exactly. Right. Okay, here's one.
Yeah.
Tell me if you saw this, where you saw it. Shiva Baby.
I must have seen that at home. I think I did.
Okay. We saw it at home. I saw it at home.
Yeah, I think I probably did too.
It is I feel like that movie worked in a home setting.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It doesn't have a distinct cinematographic look about it. Although I wouldn't want to disparage the work of what I'm sure was very an artful approach by the cinematographer. But there was something about the movie that played at home.
The only reason you might need a big canvas is that it had a little bit of the Woody Allen tracking through the apartment feel to it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't need big either.
Right. And some of the claustrophobic nature of the movie. You think maybe that would have been heightened in a dark theater.
Yeah.
But it manages to come across. What do you got for me?
Gunpowder Milkshake.
Oh, and I still have not.
Oh, all right, let's pass that by. You mentioned earlier on one, I think worth talking about, Quiet Place 2.
Yeah. Wow, that was back at near the beginning of the year. I think that was like March.
Okay.
And I remember very distinctly being excited to get back to the theater at that particular point in the year. I remember being excited because it was the sequel to this really great horror film that had come out a couple years before, and I thought John Krasinski had done it was such a smart movie. And the original, the first film, A Quiet Place, it was a movie that was designed to be seen in theaters because the whole premise of the movie, which is make a noise and you will be killed by aliens. That's what everybody should be thinking when they go into a movie theater. Make a noise, and aliens are going to reach out of the sky and snatch you on it. So, when I remember the joy of seeing that first film, and like listening to everybody in the theater, you could hardly rustle a bag of popcorn without everybody going, So I was excited for this movie. And I can't tell you how disappointed I was ultimately.
Yeah, and I wasn't as disappointed as you. I still think it was a communal experience. I still think it was meant for the theater. For all the things that you said, there's still qualities of that, the treacherous quiet.
Yeah.
There still was that quality that was enhanced, and it wasn't as good. You're absolutely right.
Speaking of the communal experience, because that's another part
Now,
of it.
how are we?
Where are we at?
Because we're going up.
Yeah, we should stop.
So, how do we
wrap the cinema classes
I mean,
up?
since they're only half the year.
Let's just send them to double take. Let's say, listen,
Yeah.
you know, because we haven't done that
Good.
enough. Here,
Are you?
let me say it.
Yes. That's
Okay.
what I mean.
Okay, wait, John. This is too much
Here we
ground to
go.
cover on just cinema classics alone. I hope our audience knows that the full discussions that we have here on Cinema Classics can be heard online at wcbe.org on the podcast experience page under Double Take, which is our full show.
Got it.
So listen to the full conversation there.